Interior space photography is a very useful skill for various tasks. For example, at the end, to document the final work. But during the design process, also to document, well, how everything evolves. And even before we start working on a project, photographing the space is very good to capture all the details. In this video, I will show you how we will generate useful images so we can then sketch over it. Imagine you're sitting down with a client and you quickly want to do overlays, or use photo matching inside the 3D modeling program so we can bring in an image, match the camera to the perspective of the photo, and then 3D model directly over the image in perspective. In this video, I will primarily focus about how to make those useful and needed photos. When you make a photo, there are kind of like three elements you need to be aware of or make use of. How you rotate the camera, what type of lens you use, and also from what position do you capture the space. All this will have an influence on the quality of the photo. With quality, I mean how much information can you capture and how useful will that photo later be when using as an underlay for sketching or 3D modeling over it. Here you can see I have a set of various photos, and they captured three spaces: an entrance area, a kitchen, and a living room. Let's, for example, take a look at these three images here. This is an entrance space. All the images are shot with an iPhone that has all three lenses. So the numbers you see here are specific to that smartphone. When you have a different phone with multiple lenses, the numbers will somewhat be a little bit different, but the concept will be exactly the same. So here you can see this is shot with a wide angle lens. And the name of the image you see, it says 0.5. That's a 30mm lens. What's really great about this lens is you can capture a lot of the space. But the problem you can see at the edges is everything feels a little bit stretched and also distorted. This is now a normal, kind of like the standard lens, 26mm, captures a decent amount of space. And then this is the zoom lens or tele lens, 6.5mm. And it's actually pretty cool to take a look at the motion sensor on the wall, but that pretty much is also it. So from this small exercise, you can already see if we would like to capture this entrance area, it's really important that we pick the correct lens, and then we also need to go closer or go further away. And the beautiful part about the wide angle lenses is we can get pretty close, but really see a lot of the space or capture it compared to the standard or the telelens. Now, when we make actually a photo, what's also really important is that when you hold the camera, you want to look straight horizontal and down rotate the camera. I have here one video that actually explains this really well. Let me pause this for the moment. The camera app I'm using here is Pro Camera, and I will in a moment here turn on the grids. The grids are very useful because I can align my walls and ceilings with these horizontal vertical lines. And I'm also turning on the tilt meter. The tilt meter helps me to understand if my camera looks up and down and if my camera is rotated. So here you have actually a horizontal and vertical and a tilt icon. Let's continue. There you see now I'm going up, and there I'm tilting the camera. And there you see now when the tilt icon overlays overlaps with the vertical line, the camera isn't rotated. But this does not yet mean that I'm looking down or up, or I'm horizontal, I mean. If we really pay attention to the vertical lines of the wall where my mouse is, you can really see, compared to the grid, that actually I'm looking down, because they are not parallel. Now, if I move the camera slowly down, I'm looking further down, and at one point, there it is. Both lines are green. And if we now compare that wall to the grid, you see the two lines are parallel. Now, if you have a camera app that does not have a tilt meter, no problem. Basically, all cameras have a grid overlay. We can also use the grid overlay. I have one video doing that too, to show you then how we can quickly approximate that we're looking horizontal and have the camera not rotated. Now here I'm looking up, tilting it on purpose again. Good. Then also I'm actually going down onto the ground. Now, do I shoot this from a lower perspective? Then I can capture more of the ground. Do I move the camera further up? Then I can capture less of the ground. And there I'm trying to match this horizontally again. Okay, good. Because this is also important. Now, what do you need to see? Well, obviously the walls, but how much do you need to see of the ground or the ceiling? So we can move the camera also up and down. But ideally, I try to shoot my photos kind of like from the eye level, because that helps later when sketching, because the image or the sketch I will make will look like it's drawn from an normal standing position and not lying actually on the ground. And also in 3D modeling, that will help a lot. Okay, very good. So let's actually go to this video here. This talks about, obviously, my amazing socks. And how do you find the correct position inside the space? This is now being recorded with the built-in camera app of an iPhone. So you see there you only have 2 horizontal, 2 vertical grid lines, no tilt meter. There's actually a small icon if you really look straight down, but we don't really have a tilt tool when we look horizontal. But I will, after I picked my position, look around. Here I want to try to capture actually the kitchen. And I'm currently in the normal lens. And pay attention to how much of the space only fits into this image. So I can see the fridge and I can see the sink, but I can't really see much of the ground. Obviously also not where the kitchen island is. Then now to rotate actually, or not rotate, to make sure that my camera is not rotated or tilted, you see how I try to swing left and right, and I'm matching up the grid of my camera interface with architectural elements. Now I'm rotating this on purpose to show you the effect. When I look down, also here now we can see that the lines aren't parallel. So obviously this is looking down. Okay, now I memorize kind of like my pose, and then I try just to go to there, and then I switch actually to the wide angle lens. Now you can see with the wide angle lens, I can capture a lot more of the space. That's pretty good. But when I'm really concerned about the kitchen, you see I'm capturing in this image a lot of the surrounding area that might not necessarily be that super useful. Also, here where my mouse is, I don't really see much of the ground. This line will later be very useful actually. When I zoom in, it looks actually pretty cool because you can see what's dinner. Today we will have gnocchis together with rabbit stew and pepper. And then when I go back to this wide angle lens, I will now move actually around and see, what is going to be a good position. And kind of like there. Oh, let me go back to here. There, very good. So there we are now. This actually gives me a good view of kind of like the kitchen corner. This is also a 2-point perspective. And the only thing maybe that's not ideal is I look a little bit down, but I minimized image waste and I can see the whole kitchen, including the kitchen island. So this is, for example, an ideal photo when I want to model or sketch a new kitchen island and kitchen area in the back. So since we talked about position in the lens, let's go back to the kitchen one more time, just to show you the impact of the wide, normal, and the telelens. So here I try to capture the kitchen space. This is a 1-point perspective, by the way. You see how I try to position myself nicely centered in the space. This is shot with the wide angle lens. The kitchen, which is my interest, is really far in the background. So this photo is not really super ideal. The table in the front occupies a lot of space. We go to the next lens, which is the standard lens. Now this is getting actually much better, but lower left corner, I'm losing information about the ground. So maybe what would be really useful if this is the type of photo shoot I want to do, I move actually the kitchen table away. And then when we go to the telelens, what's actually really nice is we can take a look at the lights. Pretty cool. But obviously the lights aren't the focus. The kitchen should be the focus, aka this view again is not really much of a use. The telelens in general I find very difficult to use in interior spaces. The normal and the wide angle lens are actually much better. I also have here, for example, the kitchen island. So that one is very easy to photograph because it's just one monolithic piece. I try to center it. I also look down a little bit. That's actually fine in this case because I'm going to just sketch this kitchen island, maybe with a redesign. All these lines here go straight down, aka this is actually a 3-point perspective. So I have the right and the left vanishing point, and then these lines go down to the bottom vanishing point. So for a sketch like this, now you can actually really on purpose also tilt the camera to capture then a photo that then will look a lot more dynamic when we start sketching over this. What else do we have? We talked about the lens. Maybe do this one more time. So I have here, for example, the living room. And this is with a wide lens. It's also pretty useful. I see a lot of the lines, walls, and on the floor. Pretty good. And here I zoomed in. This is the standard one. But actually now, besides down here, I should have maybe moved this away, but this is a pretty good photo if we want to capture this entertainment area and then do a redesign, because I can see all the architectural elements quite clearly, all these wall edges. And here, for example, if we compare this to there and there. Also, let me actually show these two images together. That's the reason why I took these two. You notice how this slightly rotates. And that's because I took one photo and didn't pay attention to the grid. Here actually, just to make you understand how I took the second photo, I matched actually the horizontal line to the architecture element here. And then this way I know there is one type of rotation not taking place. For here, pretty much the same. If we would like to just take a photo of a wall, let's say we want to redesign this area. For sketching, what will be very easy is just to have a nice, simple view that helps me to understand from the left to the right how wide is something. So something like this, I photograph directly perpendicular onto the wall. This is then actually a 1-point perspective. You see all these lines actually go to a vanishing point right at the center. And here is that photo. If maybe I will go to, let's say, this image. Now you can see this is not very useful to sketch this area out. We need a view like this. Okay, very good. Yeah, that actually basically sums up some of the tricks how to make the photos. Just to summarize again, where you stand is really important. What type of lens then you use, the normal or wide angle lens are actually really good. If you want to simulate 1-point or 2-point perspectives in sketching or also in 3D modeling, ideally then the camera should look horizontal and not be rotated. So either use the tilt command, or if you do not have a tilt command, just turn on the grids and then line everything up. And yeah, that basically is it.